Okay, now we have live in YouTube live stream. Everyone can see.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome in Indonesia and Cambodia Youth Initiative Program. Especially, we already in the second webinar session. It is talking about sexual harassment in Indonesia, Cambodia, knowing motives, method of prevention, and law enforcement. For all the believers, we absolutely have to thank Almighty God for His blessings, permits. We could be here in this program between Indonesian and Cambodian youth. So first, I on behalf of International, I would like to thankful to all the speakers for the ability to listen here as the speakers like there are the speakers Miss Alia and the Cambodia speaker Miss Ruth and also the Indonesia speakers Miss Rizka. Welcome to this webinar session. I hope you enjoy and once again I like to say thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, the Indonesian Cambodia Youth Initiative Program is an international program involving two countries between Indonesia and Cambodia to increase youth awareness of domestic issues in their perspective in its countries as well as regional and also like domestic issues and also the regional issues in the region. In addition, this program organized by Ruang International and it is also hope that this activity will increase interaction and communication between Indonesian and Cambodian youth, strengthen the relations both countries and build networking for the youth of the two countries. ICYIP provides a platform for Indonesian and Cambodian youth to perform and connect with each other so that there are more opportunities to work together in the future, both bilaterally and internationally. ICYIP consists of so we are already in the session like before we are talking for this webinar session about sexual harassment and we also would like to say thank you very much to all the participants, to all inviters, to all colleges, uh, colleges that come to this webinar.
Okay.
Just me, I cannot hear.
I think maybe technical issue right, from Mr. Jenny.
Yes, I can hear Jenny clearly.
Mr. Jenny, how about your technical?
Maybe my internet connection. That is okay. Okay.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
my voice is low. You can hear me?
Yeah,
Okay.
you can continue. Yes, you can continue.
Okay, I'm so sorry for the trouble. Okay, we thankful all the speakers once again can be here to deliver the substantial perspective research for us. Hopefully, all the presentation material and our discussion that we get from this webinar may implement, promote youth awareness about this issue. Because we know this issue is important for both countries. Youth as agent of change need to contribute and take a role and also make an impact for this issue. Finally, I'm Jimmy Bagensa on behalf of Law International. I'd like to say discussion for all participants and all speakers. Thank you. So, ladies and gentlemen, before we enter to the presentation session, I would like to introduce the moderator, and moderator will be introduce all the speakers. So allow me to share my screen. Okay, wait a moment. Yeah, I think the screen's okay. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce our moderator for this session. He is Nonave. Nonave now as the founder of One International in Cambodia and also as the project leader associate for this program, ICYIP 2020. And then bachelor students in tourism management at Royal University of Cambodia, and also is active as the IMUN ambassador in Cambodia. So please welcome Mr. Navi.
Okay, Jelly, thank you for your introduce me. And right now we have a time to official our program for today. And the first of all, I would like to introduce for all the speakers that they are warm welcome for our webinar. And the first speaker, I would like to introduce Alex Silos. Alex Silos right now is a use corner manager business partnership manager and at the monetizing, and she is a former she is a Asian Youth Ambassador in 2017, and also she is a freelance translator at AWS Translate and former qualitative research assistant at PT Treehouse Concerts, Indonesia, and as well as I think Alice, she is a student or bachelor student of the communication from Brachiva University. And right now we move to the second speaker. I would like to introduce the second speaker. Second speaker, she's from Cambodia. She is Wansarai Rod. He is a bachelor student in international relations of the University of Cambodia, and also she is an assistant executive director at Youth Committee for Unity and Development, and she has skill sales marketing team leader at Macro Cambodia, and she is a former in ICS project and as well as a former English teacher at ICYIP school. And the next, I would like to introduce the third speaker. The third speaker, she's from Indonesia, Rizka Anita. Rizka Anita is a program assistant at the International NGO Forum on Indonesia Development. And also, she is a former researcher at Rock the Vote Indonesia and a former intern at Representative Council Indonesia. And so these are the information from the three speakers from various countries in our program. And the next, I would like the first speaker from Indonesia to have his presentation. Thank you very much.
Okay, so now it's my turn. Is it right?
Okay.
Yes. So I will share this presentation slide. Does everyone can see clearly?
Yes.
Okay.
Very clear.
Yeah.
You can start the time.
Yeah.
You have
Okay.
20 minutes, right?
Okay, 20 minutes from now. Okay, thank you, Nawi, for the time. So, hello everyone. Good afternoon here from Jakarta, Indonesia. My name is Alia Siloy, and here, before I'm so thankful for Ruang International for this opportunity, for me to be able to share discussing things about the sexual harassment, maybe for all the participants here, for some issues about sexual things, it's kind of a taboo things, yeah, in the countries. Like maybe in Indonesia, it's a very, uncommon things that we discuss generally. So this is a very great opportunity if we can discuss such kind of things. And here I will presenting about the sexual harassment and unwelcome behavior. So first of all, here I would like to share some facts from the National Sexual Violences Resource Center, which state that in nationwide, 81% of women and 43% of men reported experiencing some form of sexual harassment and or assault in their lifetime. 1 in 3 female victims of completed or attempt rape experience for the first time between the ages of 11 and 17. So in here we can see that actually sexual harassment, it's not only happen to women but also men, right? But in here we can see the differences that the number is much higher for the women. So we can now maybe start to discussing like why becomes women as the highest percentage that being the victim of the sexual harassment. But before, I would like to share about the definition about sexual harassment from the United States Equality Employment Opportunity Commissions that defines as sexual harassment is unwelcome sexual advances and requests for sexual favors and other verbal or physical conduct of a sexual nature when, first, submission to or rejection of such conduct by an individual is used as a basis for employment decisions affecting such individual, or the second, such conduct has the purpose or effect of unreasonably interfering with an individual's work performance or creating an intimidating, hostile, or offensive working environment. So in this definition, maybe because I took the source from the US EEOC, they're more talking about how sexual harassment oftenly happening in the work environment. And that is actually, if we see in the sites of work environment. The next is talking about the unwelcome behavior. Maybe some of you, including me actually, I just knew about the sentences about unwelcome behavior. So unwelcome behavior is the critical word. Unwelcome does not mean involuntary. And in this unwelcome behavior, we can see that there are many kind of offensive things and objectionable, where therefore sexual conduct is unwelcome whenever the person subjected to it considers it unwelcome. Whether the person in fact welcome a request for a date, sex-oriented comment, or joke depends on all the circumstances. Okay, the next. we'll be talking about types of sexual harassment from the United Nations. So first, there are the verbal. What is verbal sexual harassment? It's referring like, if we talk verbally to person, if we talk something, we yelling at person, we're talking something's not really nice to people. And this is referring to an adult, like, for example, as a girl, hung doll, babe, or honey, whistling at someone, like, maybe everyone has, especially the women, right? We oftenly like experiencing like catcalling, whether when you're walking in the street and some strangers like calling you like peering at you, and there's like, hey girl, so that is a part of what we call about the verbal sexual harassment. Like maybe some people like questioning how come that is a sexual harassment, because that is things that makes that women uncomfortable. So for the next, maybe that is like making sexual comments about a person's body, and making sexual comments or innuendos, and many kind of example of the verbal sexual harassment. For the next is, sorry, okay, this is the nonverbal. The nonverbal sexual harassment is like when you're looking at in some persons from the up and down, like elevator eyes. Maybe this somehow you experience it when you became the new students in university. Maybe like when you're in the orientations moment, and like many seniors of your university looking at you like an elevator guys from the up and down. And the next is like when you're staring at someone's and blocking a person's path, following persons, like when someone's very strange for you, following you and you don't know why. And then the next is maybe like making sexual gestures with hands or through body movements. That is some of the example that we can call as the nonverbal sexual harassments. The next is physical. Okay, maybe for the physical sexual harassment, it's more, we can see it very clear because it's physical, which for the example is giving a massage around the neck or shoulders, and touching person's clothing, hair, or body, hugging, kissing, patting, or stroking without asking for permissions. So yeah, this is what we can call the physical sexual harassment, when you have not asked for permission for them to touch yourself. So that is in men's side, right? But in here, I highlighted from several journals that I read. And what is the definition of power relations? Power relations means that if someone have a more power to be able to influence yourself, and they are very able to manage such a things, they have the most highest power to control things. Now, that is where sexual harassment is, exist and able to be happen. So in here, at first, I've been mentioning you about the women and why women tend to be the victim of sexual harassment, because in our society, some believe that more often than men lack power, which women don't have, the strong power as men have. And the second are in more vulnerable and insecure positions. It because women's maybe when they're because I'm also a woman, right? Women tend to, we have to be very soft with a person. We have to be very, very kind. But somehow that turns people to think that, okay, women is, I think we can do anything to women. So that is when how women feels very insecure, because they're being objective. And the third is the lack of self-confidence. Why the lack of self-confidence I put here as the reasons of why women are tend to be the sexual harassment victims. It because somehow we think that women don't have any brave, yeah, they are very brave to do such a things that they like, and they don't be able to speak up of what they feelings actually. And the fourth is socialized to suffer in silence. This is the very I can say it's the very dangerous point. Why? Because if woman is always stay in silence, they don't know how to speak their truth, how to talk about how are they feeling like really. And we don't know, like, that kind of things can be turns out into desperate, or maybe like, you know, many kind of suicidal tragedy that happens. That is actually how it comes first from people suffering in silence. And this is the very dangerous part in people's life. And this is also can be, related to the mental health of the victims itself. And here are the warning signs of sexual harassment victims. The first is sexual harassment victims experience negative feelings such as guilt, anger, and disgust. Yes, this is a very, I can say that this is a very general feelings that every people have experienced, right? Not only for women, but also for the men's sides. Like uh, how 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 influence this sexual harassment experiences to the victim itself. And this kind of negative feeling is very hard if you want to try to remove it from yourself, right? Because however it happens to yourself, you experience by yourself by having experienced the sexual harassment itself. And the second one is they may also react in many different ways, such as laughing, afraid of being alone, shivering, stress, and as what I said before, depression. Why this kind of things is, maybe we think that, I think it's normal if you're getting stressed. I think it's normal if you're getting depression. No, we cannot normalize that kind of things anymore. It's the time for us to give an empathy to people who are the victims of the sexual harassment itself, because somehow, yeah, we think that that is a simple thing, don't make it a big deal. But actually that is a very dangerous experience for the victim itself. Like maybe some people think that, yeah, it's just a bad experience that happened in my life, but I think I will take it slow. But what if there are a person that could not take it slow, and they're like, yeah, they keep it silence by themselves, and they keep that bad experiences alone. And in the third point, trauma or physical touch, it could be turned into the trauma. So whenever the victims is not really brave to tell their story, we can start to bring them to the professional, like the doctors, or the psychologist itself. And the fourth is the fatal mental health affections. Why I put the fourth point as the mental health affections, as now maybe all of you guys have heard about mental health, right? And yeah, lately mental health become a very hot topics in this world, especially when we're facing the pandemic COVID-19. And yeah, mental health is also can be affected to the victims, because it turns out when they experience the sexual harassments, they feel like, oh, I'm the bad person ever. Oh, I think it's not I'm not a good person. I'm not the beautiful woman again after I'm being sexual harassment. Nah, how can we take care of them, again giving a sympathy, the empathy to the victim itself. And after talking about the definitions, talking about how sexual harassment can be able to exist, now we're talking about what does the international organizations then. As I've been searching for this 2 days back then, for the first, I've known about the ASEAN, how these organizations give a sympathy about the sexual harassment. But what I found is they're still keep it internally, like creating training practical skills on measuring organizational capacities to address the gender issues and mainstream gender perspective in the respective lines of work in order to prevent sexual harassment. So I think based on the resource that I read, which is from the official website of ASEAN, they have done it, but still internally. I mean, like they put a training for their staffs, and they make it as to make it like equality gender, and that is how they try also to convince the point of how to prevent the sexual harassments. But I think that ASEAN have not done yet, or maybe such a, the implementations to the real life of how to save the ASEAN citizens regarding sexual harassment. But I hope for now the ASEAN already prepare for that such a things, because especially in ASEAN countries like Indonesia, it's been a very hot issues that even our government could not really handle it. Maybe after this, Rizka will tell more details about that. And for the next is from the International Labour Organization, or ILO. They make kind of a sexual harassment policy for all organizations or company on the Asia Pacific. So I think this would be from their internal company or organizations who, like commitment for the sexual harassment policy. Maybe some of the company in my countries haven't done this kind of policy yet, because people sometimes like taking it very easy about the sexual harassment. It's like, it's not a big deal, but actually it's a very big deal. Okay, and I think this is the last statement for my presentation. This is from Tara Mose. She is Canadian-Australian news anchor, and she have a quotes regarding sexual harassment. We have come a long way, particularly in terms of women becoming more equal under law. Fortunately, workplace discrimination is now a crime, but unfortunately, women still experience it. Fortunately, sexual harassment is now a crime, but unfortunately, women still experience it. Fortunately, the assault of women is now a crime, but unfortunately, women still experience it. The list goes on from Tara Mose. So I think that's all from me. Thank you so much for the time, for giving me this opportunity to talk about this sexual harassment. It's a very great team discussions, and I hope we can give insight to one each other. Thank you so much, and I'll give back to Nawi.
Thank you so much, Alia, for your great sharing in our session. And I think so. Sexual harassment in ASEAN or in the world is very important for the people to know about it and to solution and to prevent it. How to prevent, or how to create the law to stop for the sexual harassment. And I have one question to ask you about the sexual harassment. What do you what should they do if they think
Hello, Nawi. I can hear you clearly. Hello.
Okay,
Can you
clear?
repeat them?
Okay, please. Yeah, it's my internet. I think it's bad. What do you think, or how do you think about if the someone get the sexual harassment, and what should they do if they think they were sexually isolated from someone, or from somebody they have sexual harassment to someone, or what should they do, right?
Okay. Thank you, Nawi, for the response and the questions. So I think that if someone's became the victims of this sexual harassment or assaults, it's very important for them firstly to share to share their experience to their close friend first, because maybe some of us is quite it's quite embarrassing, it's quite shame if we share directly to our family, to our mother or our father, right? Like, I think I will not tell to my families first, but I will share to my friends, to my close friends, that I am the victims of the sexual harassment. Why sharing is important here? Because by sharing, you can um, share your negative energy that you got as the victims, right? So in here, it's not trying to make your friends also as the victims, no, but at least you try to, reflect how do you feel, how you feel like, if you feel stressed, you feel like you're getting mad with what happened to you, what you experience, at least you share to your friends. And maybe if you don't have a very close friends that you trust, you should tell or you should share to the psychologist, to the professional, or maybe the doctors if you got the sexual assaults that is quite dangerous things. That is very important also. So I think the first thing is we have to be able to getting brave to speak up of whatever happened to ourselves. I think that is the one, now. Thank you.
Sexual. For I think the government is very part for involved to prevent the sexual harassment. Are you saying like that, right? Okay. My question is delivered to you. Should the government do to prevent the sexual harassment? And if he or she do like that, or how can they do, right?
Okay. So, well, actually, if asking like how to make them how not to be as the victim of the sexual harassment, actually this is a very quite hard questions, I think, because we never know, right, what will happen to our life, like maybe just later in 1 hour on, or maybe tomorrow what will be happen to ourselves, we don't know. But at least if some people say that there's also this kind of issues now in Indonesia, because we have the most majority religion is Islam or Muslim. Some say that we have to use some clothes that is quite not really showing our parts of body for the women. Maybe Rizka also know about this. Yeah, but somehow if we think more widely, if we think more about the human rights, okay, we also think that actually this is not 100% the victims wrong, right? And some people say that actually it's about how the people who try to assault or make harassment to the victims is how they think that it's not good to make it like a sexual harassment, because every people has their own rights for their bodies. Like, we actually think that if the part of how to be tolerant with other people, maybe that is, I think, the way of how people could prevent things from the sexual harassment. So, and I think as a woman now, we have to also take care of ourselves, right? Well, not only women, I think it's like men or women is just the same. So that is, I think.
Okay, thank you very much for your fruitful sharing. And yes, and the next time I would like to invite Sarai Rod, the speaker from Cambodia. You can, you can share your slide for your presentation. Thank you. Okay, Sarai Rod.
Okay, please wait me a little.
Okay.
So, hello once again, everyone. As everyone hear me clearly, right?
Yes. You can hear you.
Okay. So, as Miss Ali already mentioned about the type of sexual harassment, so I think maybe I will not go in detail about the sexual harassment type or how it happens. So I just want to share about the sexual harassment in Cambodia, and as sexual harassment is like refer to unwanted and unwelcome that can make people feel like feeling not good. We can say that sexual harassment also can happen between husband and wife. Like if their wife not happy to not welcome, it also called sexual harassment, but mostly Cambodia people didn't think like that. Most of the women ask their wives, they think like it is their rule to be the perfect woman for their husbands. And sexual harassment can happen and in many types. Like it can be in physical, visual, or writing word, or spoken, like by speaking. As Ali recent example, when we walk on the street and the boy or man just call us, and for like all those sexual harassment also not only refer to men to females, it also include LGBT, as they have like they feel the same sex, like between men and men, like women and women, but mostly girls are much more experienced in this unacceptable behavior everywhere. So I would like to go for the next slide. And for the sexual harassment in Cambodia, there is a traditional rule called Chbap Srei, as in our language, and in English called woman rule, as it have like a long years ago, but it's still fluent until nowadays. As Cambodia women have to be the perfect girl, and the concept of Babstray is about women is under the man, under the husband in the future. Like no matter they have the ability to study, they study a master degree or graduate a PhD, they still just stay at home after the women get married and take care of all the children. The concept still happen in Cambodia, and most of the Cambodian people face a lot of like problem to check help when like which mean the sexual harassment continue unreported and unpunished in many cases because like in Phnom Penh and in Cambodia, the women really afraid to talk about sexual harassment. No matter they have close friend or they have their like family or parent, they still cannot talk because of they worry that um, most of the people we judge that it is their fault. And as the experience when the girl like example like me and my best friend, I really trust on her, but I still cannot tell about the sexual harassment that someone just did to me. I cannot even tell her because I have no confidence, and every girl, woman in Cambodia are facing about this issue, and it is no many cost. It is have not much cost to share to about this social harassment, and as they concern about reporting the sexual harassment. Um, all also they just ask like you can know when one problem and one thing that we cannot even tell anyone, we just keep it in our mind, so we might have pressure on that. Most of the girl in Cambodia like have depression about this case and they kill themselves. They when they kill themselves, example like the parent in Cambodia also don't understand about this case. When when their child say about they meet this social harassment and their parents just like tell why you make this case happen, it is because of your fault, you go somewhere alone, why you don't protect yourself, why you let make it happen. I really uh, feel angry, and how can I meet our neighbor if they can know about this thing. It's something like that. And what I want to see is that Cambodian society like already put much pressure on women, and through the cultural belief and traditional, it is important that if someone share an experience of sexual harassment or violence with, that we can partner and support with them. A good set of principle is that listen, support, and have to report. And other thing is that together we can create an environment where we can share our sadness, our problem to each other. And what I want to see is that uh, sexual harassment can be taught in public. As I have mentioned, like the girl and girl just stay alone together. We never talk about this case. Why? Why it's just like that? When I talked with my friend about this case, she also feeling unwell, but that was my story. She have no idea on that. But I also have a few friends which they already like have about some problem. They just decide to talk with me, but uh, they already put them like they already locked themselves about 2 years or 4 years about this case. And I think the sexual harassment can be happen because of the passion of sexual of the man, or and other part I think it also can happen because of they watch like a hot video. So in Asia we cannot control, we didn't control the website which the youth or the man under about example like 35 under 35 cannot watch those kind of video. If we can control it, it might contribute to cut down the sexual harassment. But nowadays, everyone, no matter kid, also can watch those videos. It is really affect it. When the kid watch those videos, it will uh, like add to their mindset, their concept to keep about this story, and it will gain more and more when the kid also can watch this video. They grow with that concept. So also in Cambodia, it if I talk about this story, it's like why it still happen like this case. When the story happened about the sexual harassment, most of the people always blame on women about because of women wear sexy on the street or what, and then can make men feel for sex. So I think it is not true. Yeah, it is can be a part, but we shouldn't blame women about this case. It like all women can also have the right. It is their right to be free from sexual harassment, no matter how they look or what they wear. Men should be expected to control themselves. Sexual harassment is never a victim fault, and it is not a compliment. Also, sexual harassment is a form of violence and avoided with serious. So, a woman clothing is no excuse for bad behavior. And for the last part of my presentation about the prevention sexual harassment, about the first we have to get to know all the form of sexual harassment, as like by understanding different form of sexual harassment, we can better think about our own behavior and try to avoid acting in any way that might make someone feel uncomfortable and sexual harassed. And also we have to know about the area of legal protection for sexual harassment is illegal under Cambodian criminal laws. It is also a human right violence. The Cambodian government has recently taken some great steps to have stop sexual harassment and introduce police and action plan. But as the legal protection is when that the sexual harassment already happened. It also can happen after it happened, but what we can avoid from it is about we have to understand about the sexual harassment, like when the men come to us and try to put their hand on our shoulder, or what we have tried to avoid it because it is a type of sexual harassment. So yeah, I think that is all about my part. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Sarai Roth, for your sharing. And I think all the participants they can get your sharing, and they have understanding about what is sexual harassment and to prevent, how to prevent, and we can stop together for sexual harassment. And I have one question to Sarai Roth. Sarai Roth, I think sexual harassment is very sensitive. We can say very sensitive topic when we discussion about sexual harassment in Cambodia. And I think harassment, you think it is focused on women or what?
Yeah, as I have mentioned, it is not only focused on women. It is also about like between men and men that, and it also about girl and girl that they have the same. Yeah, so it but mostly it just happen between men and women.
Okay, so and sexual harassment is when we talk sexual harassment with the girl, and she or they are very scared for the someone affected to her. And in Cambodia or in ASEAN, you think that the Jews or the people should say about sexual harassment in public, or they shouldn't talk about sexual harassment in public? How do you think?
I think that women have to talk it out, or anyone that face about the social harassment, they have to raise their voice out. Just don't put in their mind, because of the issue can make us like more pressure, like more depressed on that case. So we have to find someone. I believe that everyone have the close friend or have someone that we believe in. So we have to talk it out or express it out. And as Ali said, that we can also share about our own problem to the professor, or to someone that they can know about this type. Yeah, okay.
Okay, thank you, Sarah, for your great sharing in your session. And the next, I would like to invite Risky. Are you here, Risky?
Yeah, Rizka, I'm here.
Okay, for your time, you can share what you want.
Okay, thank you. I will share my screen first. Okay, can you all see it?
Yes, you can see your slide.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Rizka Antika. You can call me Rizka. Currently, I'm working as program assistant in International NGO Forum on Indonesian Development, or INPID. Before we start, I would like to make a disclaimer first by not limiting today's presentation on sexual harassment only, because sexual harassment is only one form of sexual violence. So right now I will try to address the bigger issue here, and that's about sexual violence. Okay, so without further ado, I will start my presentation. So what you need to know about sexual violence in Indonesia, and let's dive into neglected facts with me. So I will try to, first thing first, let's start with some shocking facts about sexual violence in Indonesia. Number one, it is important, and I need to highlight, this is anyone can be a victim. Do you know that baby, elderly, and men can also be the victims of sexual violence? And yes, even I heard that the youngest victim of sexual violence is a 2 weeks old baby. Can you imagine that? So anyone can be a victim. And number two, according to Indonesia National Commission on Violence Against Women, or Komnas Perempuan, in 2019 itself, most cases of sexual violence that happen against girls are incest, which the perpetrators could be their biological father or even their brothers. And that's very insane. And the number three, online gender-based violence cases keeps increasing, especially during pandemics, where many activities are moved from offline spaces into online space because of the lockdown and social distancing. And from many forms of online gender-based violence, there is one form of it. It's called deepfake pornography. And it is when, without your consent, someone stole your photos or your videos, and using a website or even application, they attach your face into someone else's body in a sexual way, fooling people to believe that it is the real you who did the sexual activities, and they could circulate the materials around the internet. and using the title of your real name into the photos and video itself. And next, when sexual violence cases happened, most of the times people tend to blame the victims, not the perpetrators. They blame the victim because of their so-called revealing clothes, like Alia said, because they were alone in the night and etc. Fortunately, because of Me Too movement and many victims who already speak up and do campaign around the sexual violence, many people have become more aware about this issue and start to realize that we shouldn't and never shouldn't blame the victims because no one asked to be a victim. And then the 5 is marital rape that happened. It is a rape which happened between a couple who got married. So just because people get married doesn't mean you own their body. You also need to ask each other consent every time you want to do sexual activities. And the 6 is tonic immobility. I think that you guys have heard the statement about why you didn't scream or fight back when he harassed you. You must be enjoying this too, right? Yeah, we heard that a lot. Actually, there's a condition called tonic immobility where people freeze because we are in an extreme fear situation, so we can move our body. And that's what happened in most sexual cases, sexual violence cases. And then what is actually sexual violence? Sexual violence, to put it simply, is an act that is carried out forcibly or without consent sexually against another person due to a power relation which cause harm to the victim. The keyword of this definition is the first one, force or without consent, because sexual violence happened when the other party didn't give their consent to be involved in the sexual activity. And the second is attacking sexually, and the third is power relation. Like Alia said, power relation are relationships in which one person has social formative power over another. And this person, the superior one, is able to get the other person to do what they wish. And this relationship causes the victim to be in a difficult situation, and they are threatened not to comply with the perpetrator's wishes. And then how sexual violence happen? As I mentioned before, there is always a power relation between the parties. And the second is rape culture. It is when the society considers rape or sexual violence as something natural by proving male masculinity as a sexually active gender. And there is a gender bias in here, when one gender feels a better position so that the other gender is disadvantaged and experiences injustice. And then the third is negative stigma towards the victims. Victims considered to be flirty or the one who asked for it. And they also do victim blaming. Because of the negative stigma, people tend to blame the victim. This stigma benefiting the perpetrators to get away with their crimes and leave the trauma to the victims alone. And the fifth is the weak regulations. Because the law that we have didn't recognize many forms of sexual violence, and the law didn't use the victim's perspective. So the victims won't get justice, and proving that they're a victim is a real struggle. So let alone to capture the perpetrators. Okay, so in Indonesia, there are some cases, and I took 3 examples of it. Here's some sexual violence cases that happen in Indonesia. The first one is begal payudara. It is when someone, usually riding a motorcycle, and they grab the victim's breast and then just run away with it. They usually targeted women who walks alone. And the second case, this happened recently. This case is also triggering for me. In Islam, we need to pray 5 times a day in mosque. And the case is when these women are communicating with their gods inside the holy place. And then this man came in and harassed the woman by standing exactly behind the woman when they are doing ruku, as when they are bowing. So the man standing exactly behind the woman. And yeah, it happened. And then the third is, this is one of the famous case in Indonesia about the impact of weak law regulation. So there is Baik Nuril, is the victim of sexual harassment. She reported her case by submitting the evidence by secretly record her conversation with the perpetrator. But after she reported the recording, the perpetrators reporting her back because of the defamation. So yeah, that's what happened in Indonesia. And well, now we know what sexual violence is and how sexual violence happened. Then what we need to do to prevent sexual violence. I already prepared some don'ts and do's from Space UNJ about how to prevent sexual violence. Okay, so we start with the don'ts. The first one, if there is a person walking alone, don't harass or rape them. Okay. And the second, don't put sleeping pills into somebody else's drink. The third, if you see a house, don't break into the house and rape the people inside the house. So far, it sounds so easy, right? But sexual violence keep happening. And then next, if someone's sleeping, please don't rape them. Just let them sleep. If you give someone a ride, don't rape them. When you are inside an elevator with someone else, please don't rape them. It sounds very easy, but trust me, this list is based on real cases in Indonesia. And what should we do to prevent sexual violence? First, always go with your friend to remind you not to rape anyone. And then the second, always bring your whistle and blow the whistle every time you want to rape someone. So people around you will stop you. These do's and don'ts might sound silly, but it is important to share because most of the time, when we talk about prevention of sexual violence, the tips will about how to not be a victim, like protecting yourself, don't walk alone, don't use revealing clothes. But for me, what's more important is to educate people to not do sexual violence, to not rape, and not to be a perpetrator. Okay. And handling sexual violence case is not easy, it's very tricky because we are dealing with the traumatic event of a person. So what should and we shouldn't do to the victim of sexual violence, like Navi asked before. And the first thing what we should do is listen closely and attentively. Don't interrupt them and don't distract them. It's not easy for them to recalling back all the traumatic memories. And the second, believe their story. It is hard for them to come up to you, so all you need to do is just believe them. And the third, support them. Make sure that you will be there for them. The fourth, respect their decision. If they decided not to report the case, respect them. We need to understand that there is a consequences on every decision that they will make. And the fifth, assure them that it is not their fault. So what we shouldn't do? Don't blame the victim, don't judge them, don't normalize sexual violence, and don't ask a lot of questions like interrogating them. We need to consider their conditions and situation. It is very serious because the victims of sexual violence will experience a prolonged or even a lifetime trauma experience. They also got a victimization by society, even forced to marry the perpetrators to avoid sin of sex before marriage. And victims could be reported back by the perpetrators, just like by Nuril case. And then the urgency of elimination of sexual violence bill, or in Indonesia, we call it the bill of PKS or RU PKS. Yeah, why the bill is important? The first one, the Indonesian Criminal Code only recognizes rape and molestation. The PKS bill expands the forms of sexual violence, not only 2, but 9 forms. And then the second, the PKS bill uses the perspective of justice for victims. It is very important because most of the time the law itself focusing only on the perpetrators, not on the victim. And then the third is legal culture doesn't support victims. Law enforcement officer should fulfill the rights of victims and have the knowledge to address the issue by not blaming the victims and never do victimization. And in the fourth, the PKS bill also regulates the prevention about sexual violence. And here is some forms of sexual violence. There is 9 forms which will be addressed in this bill. The first one is sexual harassment, just like Alia and other speakers said, and then forced abortion, forced marriage, sexual exploitation, forced contraception. And then there's also rape, forced prostitution, sexual slavery, and sexual torture. Unfortunately, the advocacy of the PKS bill faced some challenges and rejection, especially from the conservative groups in Indonesia because of the religion itself, they said. There is some twisted facts and hoax about this bill. So in order to advocate the bill, INFIT, our organization, has conducted qualitative and quantitative research to determine the perceptions and also support of citizens and stakeholders for the PKS bill. We also made INFIT Weekly Insight series. This series will cover about gender equality, and one of the theme is focusing on elimination of sexual violence. And you can download the report on our website at infit.org and follow our Instagram at infit_id. Okay, because of the limited times to understand about the sexual violence, I suggest you to watch a series titled Unbelievable in Netflix, and I will show you the trailer. Good. Can you hear the voice?
We cannot hear.
I'm sorry. We cannot hear the voice because.
I think yeah.
Okay.
Because we think your video is original, right?
Okay, I will try to search from YouTube. Is it okay?
Yeah, you can try.
Yeah, so it is the trailer. Wait. Oh, wait a minute. I think. Okay. I guess this. Can you hear it now?
No. We cannot hear it.
Oh.
I think because okay.
I don't have a victim here.
It's bogus. She made it up.
We're on the scene of a violent attack. Police say a masked assailant broke in while the victim was sleeping.
He said you need to be more protective of yourself.
Black mask, bindings, early morning attacks.
I think he's done this before.
Aurora, 18 months ago.
Intruder, black mask, backpack, tied her up, took photos.
To date, has not been caught.
You see the pattern. There's a rape, new evidence, new leads, and then one by one, they dry up until he hits again.
This one, we're figuring out on our own.
What if he knows stations don't talk to each other, as long as he only hits once in each town?
You could have detectives from 8 different departments investigating 8 identical rapes with no clue. They're all chasing the same guy.
Victims are all over the map. Old, young, different races. So he doesn't have a type.
Sure he does, women who live alone.
This guy is out there, preying on the most vulnerable women he can find. Where is the outrage?
This is not something people get over. This is something they carry with them forever.
Even with people that you can trust, if the truth is inconvenient, they don't believe it.
Okay. To sum up all of this is one scene from the Unbelievable that I took. You think it's just one night, but compared to all of the other minutes of my life, how could this one short incident make a difference? But it does. Okay, thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Rizka, for your great sharing to the audience or participant. And yes, sexual harassment in your country and in Cambodia, we need to prevent for the reducing or for the stop to the sexual harassment. But my question is, how do you think if they are working on one company or they are worker, right? And if their employers suggest them to wear sexy, it is a part of sexual harassment or what you think?
Yes, I think it is a sexual harassment. Why? Because they force the woman to use a revealing clothes as they wish, and their intention is to make them look sexy, right? It is sexual harassment for me because they tend to make the woman as an object and sexualize the woman in a way because it is not necessary, right? I mean, what's the point of using sexy clothes itself? Yeah, and but it's a different case if the woman choose without force, without anyone force them to use what kind of dress. It's up to them. It is their body. But when someone forced them, that is the problem. That's sexual harassment.
And one more related for this, if they are working during their time on the workplace and the employees, they are focused on the video or on the picture and they have download for the picture related to sexual harassment. So it is, they need to stop it or they need to have a punishment from the employer or what do you think?
Okay, so I think that every organization or every company should have the code of conduct about the anti-sexual violence or anti-sexual harassment, which forbids everyone to do a sexual harassment. And if someone do sexual harassment, they should get punished or yeah, because we should not tolerate this. We should not normalize this anymore because there are too many victims behind us that we haven't helped them. So yeah, I think every organization have to, and it's a must to have a code of conduct about anti-sexual violence.
Okay, so great for your sharing. And the last my question, I want to know, should we prepare a campaign, right? Campaign for promoting or for advertising on the sexual harassment, especially for the youth that they are living in the society.
Yeah, we really need to campaign this. I mean, living in this digital era, it is very easy for us, usually, especially the youth, to just just click the love button or click the share button. It is very easy, just one click away, and you never know what's the impact of the one click that you did because people actually have the capacity or people have the opportunity to do the campaign by as easy as just sharing the content or even speak up and just make one Instagram stories on your account. It is very impactful and life-changing. So I really encourage you to do that, guys.
Why? Okay, wow. So great for your idea. Right now, I think we have a time limit and the next we go to the Q&A session. And if the participant or audience have a Q&A or have question, they can free asking for all the speaker that they want and mention. If you want to ask, you can mention your name and the speaker that you want to ask. have any participant or audience that you want to ask right now? Yes, we have 3 questions to ask. Okay, we have question in the box chat, right? Wait, I will check. Wow, many questions. Okay, I think the question would like delivered to Rizka. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Could from with David, I think could we teach about harassment to the children in the young age, and why?
Yes, we really need to teach about the authority of their body. You know, we can start from the very young age so that the children will have the knowledge of this is our body. Not everyone can get an access or just touch them as they wish. You know, we can just start from telling them about the sensitive part of their bodies, and if strangers ever touch or ask to touch their sensitive parts, we could teach our children to say no. Okay, it is one of the easy steps that we can do, and then after that we can escalate the material according to their age. You can introduce the term of sexual harassment itself, and what people can and cannot do to your body, and if you undress you need to find an empty room so you could not undress in front of everybody, you know, that kind of things. It will help the children to understand there's a boundaries of their bodies. I think that.
Okay, thank you. And the next question delivered to Sarairot. Sarairot, are you ready?
Yeah.
The question from Daniel Molinda. I think she asked about how the Cambodian youth fighting and fighting the traditional habit that support or make it okay for sexual harassment potential activity.
Okay, for about the issue, I have already mentioned in my presentation, and about the fighting for the traditional habit. As in Phnom Penh, it didn't happen for it didn't happen many cases, but in rural area, our Cambodian people still have this mindset and concept. The organization try to make the campaign about sexual harassment, and also to change their concept. As Cambodian have the bad history as about Khmer Rouge. I don't know whether you know or not. It's like we start from zero. Our country start from zero again, and the mindset of the adult the mindset of our parent is really traditional. But I truly believe that the youth is the important person that play this role to explain the people, and also to raise the campaign awareness to everyone, and also the rural area. I hope the traditional habit will be better and change soon. Yes. Okay.
Okay, thank you very much. And the next question delivered to Ale and Rizka. Are you ready?
Okay.
Okay. The first I would like to Ale, how the best way to put the Jews as the awareness promoter about the issue, because as we know, all of them do that for the certified too. Are you clear question?
Yes. Okay. Thank you for the question, Daniel Malonda. Regarding the best way to put youth as the awareness promoter about these issues, I think firstly, yeah, we have to educate them about how important to take care about ourselves, about our bodies, because that maybe I think based on what Sreirot has explained about her presentation, I think it's quite same with Indonesia, that we have a patriarchy kind of system that makes especially in women have to could not be as high as a man. And I think regarding that kind of cultures habit, we can start actually by teach youth to understand, to love their bodies, to love themselves. And I think for now we can also make some kind of socialization to the youth about sexual harassment is real, then it could be happen to anyone, as what Rizka also explained before on her presentations, that maybe as we know that this is the digital era, we all use technology to know many kind of information. I think many kind of organizations or company mostly like they choose the influencer of like the celebgram or the famous persons in their countries to also make a campaign about sexual harassment, how important it is, how we have to be concerned about these issues. And I think that could simply make the youth aware about these issues. So I think it's like that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your and Rizka, you have an idea to share about this?
Yeah, thank you. We're living with social media as a powerful tool to strengthen or even threaten us. So we have to remember it is our role in this digital civil societies to ensure the inclusiveness, to support the anti-sexual violence, and also by building collaboration and network among us, like what we do right now. It is very important for youth to networking to each other by using the digital platform. And also, it may sound too simple, but trust me, even the smallest action has the contribution to help our friends. That is why we need to keep writing, just start writing, start posting, start sharing, and liking the content about the anti-sexual violence. If you already know that this is wrong and you know the knowledge, try to Google it up and just do a small campaign by yourself. And also, like what we did in InFit, we do InFit weekly series that is included an infographic about the sexual violence. So we put a simple explanation about what exactly sexual violence is. And by that, it also helps people to understand what is sexual violence, and it helped them to just click the sharing button or not to creating by themselves. So I think that.
Okay, thank you very much. And the next question from Melinda to all speaker. I think the question delivered to Sreirot, the first, and the question is it possible the sexual harassment cases came from mutual consensus between two parties? And so how we can justify or make sure that the real sexual harassment action?
I would like to give the floor to Ali first. Okay, to this question.
Okay, Ali first.
Okay, me first.
Yeah, you got understand about question?
Okay, yes, I understand.
Okay,
okay. Thank you. Well, I think if it comes to sexual harassment and one party say that he or she's been officially harassed. I think it's somehow it's not a very it's quite impossible to say that it comes from mutual consensus, but it's how we can justify or make sure it's the real harassment action. I think we have to first make an observation first through both parties. Like we have to ask from each parties, like what happens actually, how's the first moment it happens. We have to ask in detail. So from there, we know the stories from two sides, not only from one side. And I think that is one of the first way that we firstly have to observe, and we have to make sure that both parties is not making, some lies story about what happened actually. And I think that is the most important, that we should make an observation. We should interview them, like what happened really. And I think that is the best way to know that it's the real action. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Sarah, are you okay?
Okay, for my opinion, if like both party they agree each other, it's not called the sexual harassment. And for if someone are not unwelcome or unhappy about it, it mean and they still make action, it mean called sexual harassment. And about how we can justify or make sure that that is the real sexual harassment. I think we have to know about the sexual harassment type, like have to know the action about it is not only mean about sexual harassment refer to you have to like to sleep, like someone try to ask you to sleep together. And it also about some way the man try to say, oh, your breast is so small, or example like that. It mean also sexual harassment. It happened in many types. And so we can what that we can define that it feels sexual harassment. It means someone try to cheat on you or look down on your body. Okay, thank you. It is my perspective.
Okay, thank you, Sarah. And Rizka, you have idea?
Okay, thank you. So as I mentioned before, there is 3 keywords that we can use to identify whether it is a sexual harassment or not. The first one is when they are using force or without the consent or other parties, it can be considered to be a sexual violence. And then the second, if they're attacking sexually. And also the third, there is a power relation between them. It is when someone who has the superior position, actually they don't not only just they ask them, sometimes they could manipulate the victim itself. So the victim has no choice than to say not to say yes. The victim has no choice not to fight back. Okay, so we need to understand that. And the first principle of when someone telling you there's case of sexual violence, we need to believe them first. We need to believe them. Everything that they told, we need to believe them. And just step by step, we also try to help them to understand the situation. And then after that, we can ensure that this a real case or not. Okay, so I think that's for me.
Okay, thank you very much for
thank you.
For your perspective. And the next question delivered to all the speakers the same. And the question is from the question from Damarani say about good evening to all speakers. I would like to ask for all the speakers, could The question, could sexual harassment be prevented? If it's possible, how to prevent? The first speaker to earlier.
Okay, thank you, Aprilia Damarani, for the questions. Yes, sexual harassment actually could be prevented, but yeah, I think it's very hardworking for us to prevent these things, because somehow in life we also deal with people who's not really have the same education as we have, you know, like not everyone is very concerned about this kind of issues, because yeah, maybe it could be some points that makes people not really concerned about this issue, because maybe their beliefs, or maybe their you know, their circumstances, like they never critically talk about some issues that is very happening right now, which we know that as the digital era is very exist, and many people start to know such a huge information, many kind of information, that it's quite maybe it's quite hard to be filtered. But yeah, again, that we can prevent that by, you know, like simply just taking care about how we could do such a things to others. And yeah, I think one more important thing that make people realize that sexual harassment is actually exists. So yeah, we have to be very ready and have to be very careful about ourselves about such kind of harassment. I think that is the most important one to prevent.
Okay, thank you very much. For Sarairot, you have.
Okay, yeah, thank you for her question once again. For how to prevent the sexual harassment, I think it also start from us. We can when we stay with anyone, or like some people that in our workplace, or what we have to learn about their personality, about their type, and when we can know that that person is not really a good one, and about like they try to cheat, or like what can I say, try to cheat on anyone, and it looked like they didn't give value to the girl or woman, we have to avoid, like don't try to stay near them, and stay away as much as you can. And when they stay near us, don't let them. I meet one case actually in my workplace. As someone, like when they want to ask me anything, and he want me to explain him about what how to do, or what, he just stay near me, and sometimes it's like he put his hand on my shoulder, and I feel, oh no, it shouldn't like that. I feel not really good, and then I tell him, I tell him like, no, you don't have to do that, and it is start from why I say that. First, we have to prevent and avoid from those kind of people. The second is we have to share what we have understand about sexual harassment, like as Rizka have mentioned about through social media or social campaign, anything, join as much as you can, so it can awareness and contribute to many people. They will, like, we can start from us to prevent about sexual harassment. If we mention about the law, the law can help, but cannot prevent. It can help when the sexual harassment is already happened. So yes, that's all for me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. For the risk, because we have two questions for closing our ceremony, and because the question related to Rizka in Muslim religion, and what the question is, what do you think about the sexual harassment in Muslim?
Yeah, actually, there is also an NGO in Indonesia that is talking about the sexual violence and in Islam itself. Actually, Islam is the religion of peace. So we prohibit every act of violence, right? And I don't know why people keep justifying their religion to do sexual violence, because in my religion itself, in Islam, we prohibit every act of violence, including sexual violence. Yeah, so I think that's the short answer to this question. And also in Islam itself, the woman is, the God put a woman in a higher position. So when a man do a sexual violence towards a woman, they try to lower the position of the woman, and it's absolutely against what every values in my religion. I think that.
Okay, thank you very much. And for the Elia, how do you think, or what do you think about the sexual harassment in Islam religion? You know about that, right?
Yeah, because I'm also a Muslim. Okay, thank you. This is a very interesting questions. So yeah, I'm also agree with what have Rizka said before, that Islam never get agree for any kind of violence, any kind of harassment, because yeah, on our religion also we all love about peaceful things, that somehow maybe yeah, we cannot deny that somehow the person who do the harassment is a Muslim people, and that is like, yeah, somehow we also have to look back at how's the background of the person who did the harassment itself. So yeah, I think Islam, Muslim never getting agree, or we prohibited to all of the harassment actions and violence itself.
Okay, thank you very much. I think we have one question, and for the completed our session, and I think it is my question to all of you. It is my free question, and are you ready for it?
Ready.
Yeah. Sexual harassment, when we talk about that not only focus for the women, it is both for the men and the women. And I think sexual harassment right now in Cambodia and Indonesia, as well as in ASEAN and the world, we have all together when we talk about sexual harassment, right? Okay. So in the name of we are the Jews, how can we do to prevent, or how can we do to must stop sexual harassment in our society? We can motivate for the Jews as the same, or we can encourage them to understand what is sexual harassment that are negative impact. Okay, the first, Rizka, right?
Okay, so thank you, Nafi, for the question. Yeah, I agree with you, because we need to highlight that anyone can be a victim. So it is anyone's job, everyone's job, that there is no exception for no one of the people in this world want to be the victims, right? So it is our responsibility to keep spreading the message about the anti-sexual violence, to keep sharing the information about what is sexual violence and how to prevent them and what is the impact of it. So after you give the information about these basic ideas, I think people will agree that we need to stop this sexual violence. I think that many people who did the sexual violence, sometimes they don't realize that it is considered as a sexual violence because they don't have the perspective, they don't have the knowledge. So we can start a little step by, spreading the message and the information about the basic knowledge of sexual violence. So yeah, I hope that after getting this knowledge, people will, oh, I realize I did a sexual violence and I will not repeat the same mistakes again. And they will spread the information to their societies. And I think that what we could happen right now. Like this webinar, it's very helpful. Yeah.
Yeah, I got. I will follow from you. Okay, the next to Alice, you have idea to share?
Yes, okay, that's interesting questions, Nawi. So yeah, as we know that maybe some issues talking about like sexual harassment, it's still a taboo issues that we actually try to discuss with the society, with people around us. Maybe some still think that, why are you talking about like that? But yeah, again, we have to start to realize that for now, we all know that taking care of ourselves is the most important things to do right now. And I think, yeah, sexual harassment, we have to, spread the information more widely, and yeah, like giving a campaign, doing this webinar is also a great start to make people realize about these issues. So yeah, maybe some people don't realize that they have done such a action like harassments, but yeah, hopefully after they know about how we really spread the information, like simply like if you follow some accounts that speaking about human rights, about the sexual harassment, simply like if you just repost the Instagram feeds and put it in your story, and people will like stalking to your story is like, okay, she's talking about sexual harassment, blah 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 blah, and people getting realized that okay, nowadays people are very critically about how to keep yourself safe, and again that we have to spread the good informations and make sure that people is getting educated about the sexual harassments. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. To Sarah.
Yes, for me, like us youth, we play a really important role for every part for our society, and also for sexual harassment. Youth also a part to have about this issue. Not only we contribute in the big case, but only our friend, like us, me as a youth, I can have my friend has like face this case, so I can help her by listen and support her, so that I also can be a part to contribute. Don't just like, oh, I should make a big event so that I can be a part to contribute everyone to know about sexual harassment. And not only that, we can do from a small step of small part on. And as we can see in generally, most people can know the sexual harassment through only physical, but visual and by spoken is not really a big case. They think just, oh, maybe that is not really a big problem, so I don't have to say it out. And I think when people get to know about the type of sexual harassment and can know how to prevent, and also we can youth can educate about some people that they don't know about all those cases. It is really important, and ask how can we contribute to this issue. As we can do the social campaign, and our one Facebook account or IG only, like Rizka have mentioned, add only one story, and it can be like many people can see it. So thank you.
Thank you very much. The last but not least, all the speakers can share interesting or the last idea that you want to share all the audience or all the participants. You can have idea to share, right?
Yes, so I would start from me first. Okay, thank you for all the participants and thank you for joining us today and ask a lot of questions. I think you all also interested in sexual harassment, and I hope all the participants that have attended this webinar will be the next part to continue about this event. Yeah, and also can be a part to help everyone around you when they face that problem. I know maybe most of your friends face that kind of problem, but they cannot speak it out. Or maybe you joining right now also face about sexual harassment, but you cannot say it out. You pressure yourself, you have depressed, you think that it is your fault. So please find anyone that you trust, tell them and express your feeling it out. I think it might be better for everyone. And thank you for the events once again for having me, and thank you for create this topic. Yeah. Okay, thank you. Good luck.
Thank you, Sarah. And Rizka, you have the last idea.
Okay, so thank you, David, thank you, Rod, thank you, Alia, for the presentation today. Thank you for the Jian Li, Ruang International, for the invitation for me to speak about the issue of sexual violence, because it is very important, you know, that we can use every platform that we have to spread about this issue. By every platform, I mean everything. You can use your WhatsApp story, you can use your Instagram, you can use your Facebook, TikTok account, which is now very famous. As simple as that. I hope that after this, you can stop sexual harassment, you can keep fighting against sexual violence, and you can tell this information that you get from this webinar to everyone around you. And starting from now, you can take one small account, small action from your account. I think that's all. Thank you very much.
Okay, to the next.
Okay, thank you so much for everyone for having me here. Thank you, Nawi, Shrairot, Rizka, and also Jianli from Ruang International for holding this event. It's a very important issue that maybe not every country has made this collaboration, right? Like in between two countries, Indonesia and Cambodia. It's very interesting. So 2 thumbs up for Ruang International. And I think for the last statements, for everyone, don't forget to take care about yourself, take care about your surroundings, because sexual harassment maybe happen everywhere and every time, we never know, but still don't never getting tired to remind people about the importance of being aware of sexual harassment. We have to educate them. Yeah, we have to simply just remind them not to be harassed as they know before. So I think that's all for me. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you so much for all the speakers that were free to join our webinar. And the last session, we have a closing remark. And I would like to invite Mr. Jenny, the founder of Ruang International Indonesia, to closing the remark. Mr. Jenny, are you here?
Hello.
Mr. Jenny, are you here?
Hello. I'm sorry. Can you hear my voice?
Yes, I hear.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. The first, I just want to say sorry because there is connection problem going on with executive director of Ruang International. Maybe I could present him. Yeah. Oh yeah, and we know the topic that we have discussed is about sexual harassment. This is an education and it increases our knowledge about impact and who is harmed in this case. It doesn't feel like when we are finished. I want to say thank you very much to all the speakers today, to to Miss Rizka Antika, to Miss Alia Siloy, and to Miss Shrey Road. I'm sorry if my pronunciation is that's bad. And to our moderator, it's Mr. No Navy. Yeah. And also our moderates to No Navy, to Mr. No Navy, and thankful for all participants who joined this webinar. And before we end this webinar, allow us to take a picture together, and I invite all participants to open the camera. Please to all participants to open the camera. We're going to take a picture together. Okay. Okay. Wait. Okay. Okay, I think I will take a picture now. I will count it. 1, 2, 3. Okay, smile, cheese. 1, 2, 3. The last one. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Yeah. Oh, I just want to say thank you. Thanks a lot for all speakers today and for our moderator and all participants here to attend this webinar. I hopefully the case we discuss can be additional knowledge for all us, for all speakers, for me especially, and for participants and for our moderators also. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. Thank you. Keep healthy and stay safe.
Stay safe, everyone.
Stay safe.
Yeah.